Welcome back. The federal government's made a lot of adjustments since the start of the coronavirus about a year ago. The Partnership for Public Service lists 65 of the bright spots in the government's response to a potentially dark time. Max Stier is president and CEO of the Partnership for Public Service. Max, welcome. It's good to see you. And you or your team member who wrote this, I think, stated this very eloquently. A phoenix emerged from the COVID-19 ashes, a government that is in many ways stronger, smarter, and nimbler. Well, how did you come to that observation, and how did you decide it was appropriate to highlight these bright spots, Max?
So first of all, you're 100% right. It's team. It's certainly not me, and I have got great colleagues. And look, I think we're in an extraordinary moment, obviously a moment of great crisis for our country, which is demonstrating the vitality and the importance of government. And as you just stated, it really is a point in which we can rethink the way our government works. Our government typically responds unbelievably well in a crisis. It has done so again here, and there's a ton of learning to be done. We have a government that is largely operating remotely, virtually, and there's just phenomenal benefit going forward if we're able to harvest the innovation that's taken place. So our attempt in this report, as you just underlined, is to highlight some of those innovations. We believe there's a ton more work to be done to find out what good is going on and what might be replicated, not just where it's happening, but also across all of government.
Yeah, the replication piece is what I think is most important, Max. And the other huge important piece that came out of this was the collaboration across agencies. Numbers 55 to 61, we don't have time to talk about them all, but those were the ones that I think impressed me the most, because in the years that I've been covering the government, that's always the hardest nut to crack, is agency to agency operations, because these organizations speak such different languages. Were there themes that you saw in the agency to agency collaboration and the reasons that it worked?
Well, I think that part of this is all about the focus on outcome. There's such an obvious need of government assistance where some of the process limitations get put to the wayside. People rethink how they do things because they have to, and they find often that they can do things a ton better. We don't have a lot of bright spot analysis in our government. There's a lot of infrastructure to find problem, not a lot of infrastructure to find the good things. And in my view, we'll solve more problems by finding good things than any other strategy. As you note, incredible collaboration between agencies and also between sectors. There's a wonderful story about the collaboration between the Office of Science and Technology Policy and IBM, bringing together supercomputers so that we can bring real computing power to test different potential solutions for various pandemic issues. I mean, there's just all kinds of important creative things that are occurring. And again, this should be our future state. The opportunity for improving government is before us right now. It's happening, and we need to make sure this is something that doesn't get lost. We don't return to status quo ante, but rather we move forward, adopting the new operating model that we're seeing play out in response to the pandemic.
So to your point, Max, about the future state, an opinion column in the Wall Street Journal this weekend that one doctor at least believes we could reach herd immunity between vaccinations and antibodies by as soon as April. Let's say it's a couple months longer than that, but that means June, July, August, we're starting to think about that future state being here. And you write in this report, the road ahead must include increased innovation, technology improvements, and dramatic changes in operations. What has to happen to make these good things stick and propagate, do you think?
So phenomenal question. And I think it starts with, as always, the leaders seeing that this is a priority. So making sure that both the individual agency leadership, the central White House leadership, the leaders in Congress all take advantage of the changes that have already taken place and build government in order to be able to enable those things to happen going forward. So we need to, again, not return back to buildings. We now have a government that has demonstrated that it's the people, not the buildings. We should be, we've had lots of conversation over the years around telework. We're in a whole different universe. Now it's not, just a few more people teleworking. In my view, for many instances, telework ought to be the norm rather than the exception. And that would, fundamentally change the operating, again, of government. It will save the physical costs. It will enable people to work more productively. It will reduce congestion in the DC area. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that comes out of this. And it's not just telework. You know, one of my favorite examples is the VA, where they saw, and I'm going to get the numbers probably a little wrong, but something like a 1,700% increase in telemedicine in the first few months. You know, the VA has had, you know, really big challenges to get medical resources to rural and remote areas. And what we're finding is that actually telemedicine can work at scale and help people in very, very big ways. So the challenge here now is leadership needs to say, this is not what we did because of the pandemic. Leadership needs to say, this is what we learned from the pandemic, and apply this as a going forward model of operation.
Max, we have 30 seconds left. What's the biggest thing that you saw in this work that you thought was impressive?
There's just too many examples. The most important to me, though, is the fact that government not only got stuff done remotely, it actually often did it better than ever before. And that better is pretty powerful.
Max Stier, thanks very much, and congratulations to your team on this work.
Thank you so much.